Hey, really glad you were here today. I want to start with something that I think a lot of you have felt, but maybe never had the words for. Have you ever looked at someone, maybe a coworker, maybe someone you went to school with, maybe just someone you follow online, and thought, how are they doing that? Same city, same kind of job, maybe even similar salary. And somehow they just bought a house, or they're taking their third vacation this year, or they just seem fine. Financially fine in a way that you cannot quite figure out. And you find yourself wondering, what am I missing? What are they doing differently? I want to tell you something important. In most cases, you're not missing anything. And they're not doing anything dramatically different. What is different is which side of a split they landed on. A split that has been quietly happening in the American economy for years and that almost nobody is explaining clearly. Economists have a name for it. They call it the K-shaped economy. And once I explain what that means, I think a lot of things that have felt confusing or unfair or just off are going to start making a lot more sense. Because this is not about individual choices. This is not about who worked harder or who was smarter with money. This is about a structural split in the American economy that is pulling some people upward and pushing others down simultaneously. And understanding which forces are affecting you and why is the first step to doing something about it. So let us get into it. So what exactly is a K-shaped economy? Think about the letter K for a second. It has one line going up and one line going down, both starting from the same point. That is exactly what is happening in America right now. Higher income households are rising. Lower and middle income households are slipping further behind. Both things are happening at the same time, in the same country, sometimes in the same neighborhood. And here is what makes this so hard to see. On the surface, everything looks fine. The stock market keeps hitting record highs. Unemployment numbers look okay. GDP is growing. But those numbers are averages. And averages hide the split. Spending growth for higher income Americans remained relatively stable. But spending growth slowed significantly for lower and middle income households during the same period. Bank of America's senior economist described it as the K-shape widening and starting to look more like the jaws of a crocodile. Jaws of a crocodile. Well, that is not a metaphor that sounds good for the people between the teeth. And if you are middle class in America right now, that is exactly where you are. Now, here is where it gets really specific. And I want you to pay attention to this part because it explains a lot. Equifax just released data in July 2026 showing that the top tier, they call them thrivers, actually shrank by 5%. But the bottom group, called strivers, grew by 2%. The middle held steady in size, but the people inside it are moving, and they are mostly moving down. And here is the number that should stop everyone cold. 97%. 97% of the people falling from the middle class into the striving category have one thing in common. The people moving up from middle to thriving, over 2/3 of them are affluent with more than $1 million in assets. So the dividing line is not really about how much you earn every month. It is about what you own. People who own assets, stocks, homes, investments, those assets went up in value even when everything else felt hard. Their wealth grew while they slept. People who do not own significant assets, who live primarily on their income, they absorbed every price increase, every rate hike, every cost of living surge with no cushion underneath them. Same economy.
And here is something that I think explains why this feels so invisible and so confusing at the same time. The K-shaped economy hides its teeth in a very specific way. It makes the basics cheap enough that people do not revolt. But it makes wealth-building assets, homes, stocks, investment accounts, incredibly expensive to enter. Think about what that actually means. Your Netflix subscription is affordable. Your phone plan is affordable. Fast food is affordable. The things that keep you comfortable day to day, accessible. But a down payment on a house? The entry price for that has doubled in 14 years. The median U.S. single-family home price jumped from $164,000 in 2012 to $357,275 in 2026. A diversified investment portfolio? Stocks are at all-time highs. The top 1% now control about 32% of total wealth in this economy. Getting in now means paying peak prices for assets that have already done most of their growing for people who got in earlier. So the system keeps you comfortable enough to stay quiet,
but prices you out of the things that would actually build your future. That is not accidental. That is the architecture of a K-shaped economy doing exactly what it is designed to do.
Now, let me talk about the thing that is accelerating this split faster than anything else right now. Artificial intelligence. 2026 tax policy is delivering outsized savings to high earners, and AI is doing something similar to wealth. The people who own AI companies, who invest in AI, who have assets tied to the tech sector, they are seeing extraordinary returns. Meanwhile, the workers whose jobs are being disrupted by AI, the administrative assistants, the customer service representatives, the data entry workers, the junior analysts, they are navigating job market uncertainty with no corresponding wealth gain to cushion the disruption.
The same technological shift that is making some people extraordinarily wealthy is making other people's income less certain. Corporate profits are rising. Worker productivity is at record highs. But labor income has steadily fallen as a share of U.S. GDP. So workers are producing more than ever, and corporations are profiting more than ever. And the workers are taking home a smaller piece of what they helped create. That is not a new story. But AI is accelerating it at a pace that previous technological shifts did not. Here is the part that I personally find the most difficult to sit with. The middle class right now is what one economist called the Costco economy. They are not in a full-blown panic, but they are shopping at Costco and Walmart to stretch every dollar. They are treading water, spending on necessities and some small discretionary things, but the margin between getting by and falling behind is razor thin. The middle class is spending in a nervous way. Spending in a nervous way. I think that phrase captures something really true about what it feels like to be middle class in America right now. You are not destitute, but you are not secure either. You are doing the math at the grocery store. You are calculating before you make a doctor's appointment. You are looking at your friends' vacation photos and feeling something complicated. You are treading water.
And treading water is exhausting because you have to keep moving just to stay in the same place. And here is what makes it worse. The people on the upper arm of the K do not feel that at all. Their wealth is growing passively. Their assets are appreciating. They are not treading water.
So, what can you actually do about this? Because I am not going to leave you with just a description of the problem. First, understand the asset gap and start closing it however you can. Even small amounts invested consistently over time build the kind of asset base that is the difference between the two arms of the K. A 401k you are not maxing out, an IRA you have not opened, even a small brokerage account. The point is not the amount. The point is getting on the right side of compound growth. Second, home ownership still matters, even in this market. I know the prices are brutal, but owning a home, even a modest one, puts you on the side of the economy where your net worth grows as the asset appreciates. Renting keeps your housing cost as pure expense with no asset accumulation on the other side. If homeownership is a realistic possibility for you, the K-shaped economy is a strong argument for pursuing it. Third, be very careful about lifestyle inflation. When your income goes up, the temptation is to upgrade your life to match it. New car, bigger apartment, more subscriptions. Every dollar spent on lifestyle is a dollar not building the asset base that determines which arm of the K you land on. Fourth, pay attention to where economic policy is going. 2026 tax policy is delivering outsized windfalls to high earners. CNBC. Understanding how policy affects your specific situation and voting accordingly is not political. It is financial self-interest. Here is where I want to end. The K-shaped economy is not a natural disaster. It is not something that just happened. It is the result of decades of policy choices. Choices about taxes, about labor law, about who gets subsidized and who gets taxed, about which assets get protected and which workers get left to negotiate alone. That means it can be different. Systems built by choices can be changed by different choices. But here's the thing. Change at the policy level takes time, and you are living your financial life right now. So the most important thing you can do is understand the game you are actually playing, not the one you were told you were playing. You were told that hard work and smart spending would be enough. And for a generation, that was true. But in a K-shaped economy, hard work and smart spending keep you afloat. Assets are what move you forward. Understanding that difference, really understanding it, is what changes the trajectory. Not overnight, not all at once, but it starts with seeing the K clearly, knowing which arm the forces around you are pushing you toward, and making deliberate choices about how to respond. You are not behind because you did something wrong. You are navigating a split economy that most people have never had explained to them clearly. Now you have.